Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel Code for Tech Solutions. Today in this video we are going to cover a new topic, and our today's topic is how to connect Django project to already existing database. What happens in real practice? It's not always the case that we are going to create a database and tables from scratch and inserting a new data into that. But sometimes sometimes or most of the times we need to use the existing data which is already available along with the tables and data. We need to use that in our application, either whether it's a new application or existing application. Sometimes that is the scenario that we need to create a new application and connect with the existing database and table without modifying and altering the existing state of the table and data. So let us see how we can implement this scenario using Python Django project. So what we are going to do, we are going to create one Python Django project that will connect with the database, existing database which has some data. So we are going to connect it without altering and modifying the existing state of data or the schema. Now let me show you this is our database wherein we have this is client underscore db. This is the existing database and which has client as a table with these columns id, name, email and tenor, and this is the existing data which is already there. Now we are going to create our Python Django project which will use this database, which will connect and use this database without altering any data or rewriting any table as such. So let us see how we can achieve that. Now here first of all we can create our virtual environment using command. This is the command which will create a virtual environment, and you can see this folder is created with subfolders like include, lib and script. So what all libraries we install, that will go inside this lib folder. Now once this virtual environment is created, we need to activate that. So let us do that. We need to go to virtual environment folder first, and next we can go to scripts, and then we can use this activate command. Now here we can see the virtual environment prompt, that means it's activated. Now next we can install the dependencies using command pip, and first we need Django REST framework. These are some web framework we are going to use to create Python web development project. And next, like, we are going to use this library to connect with PostgreSQL database, which is kind of pcopg2 binary, or we can simply use this pcopg2, which is enough. So this is the Python library or adapter, we can say, which will help us to connect with the PostgreSQL database. Now once it is installed, it will show inside this lib folder, or we can use piplist command and see what all things are installed. Now it is successfully installed. We can use this command so that it will show all the list install the libraries like Django REST framework, and this is our Python adapter we have just installed. This is the adapter to connect with our PostgreSQL database. Seems good. Now next thing what we can do, like we can create our project using Django, Python project using Django. For that we can use this command Django admin, and we can say start project. Here we can give our project name. Let's say it's our client underscore project which we want to create. Now we can see it has created the project successfully. Now next thing we can create, first we need to go to our client project folder. Next we can create one application inside this using Python. This is the command we can use to create the application. We can use start app, and here we can give our application name. So our application name is API. You can give any name. So this is the API wherein we are going to keep all our REST APIs. Okay. Next thing what we can do, now let us create a model which will reflect similar to the database structure of our table, like we have id, name, email and tenor. So let us create the model class. So before we create a model class, so let us configure the database part. So let us go to our settings.python file, and here we need to add one entry inside installed app. Like here we are going to add REST framework, which is a library. Next we need to include our application, which is a API. This is about installed apps. Now next thing, like it is using the default database, which is SQLite 3. So let us make it PostgreSQL, which is the engine we need to use to connect with the PostgreSQL database, and we need to mention what is our database, which is a client underscore DB. Now next thing, we need to add user. What user you have set, you can mention it here. Next we need to mention password. Next we can mention host name. Let's say it's a local host. And finally we can use port name. And for PostgreSQL, this is the default port name, port name 5432 port number. Okay, so we are done with this our database configuration, and we can save it. Now what next we can do, like we can create our model which is reflecting similar to our database table. Now here we can create one class with name client, and here we can use models.model. And here first of all we can create one ID similar to what is existed in our database table, and here we can use like a models dot integer field, and we can say primary key as a true. Next thing, we can use name, and for that we can use models dot char field, and we can mention max length, let's say 150. Similar way we can use. So let us check what is the next column. It's a email. This is the email, and for email we can keep the char field. We can take the email field, but let us take the char field now. And finally we have tenor, which can be in integers, so we can use integer field. So that's it about our properties for this model. Next thing, like we need to mention class meta, and here we need to mention which existing table we are going to use, otherwise it will create a new table. So here we can use client table. That's it about model creation. We are done with. Next thing, what we can do, let us create one serializer, and we can use serializers dot, we can create this file inside our application, and here we can use like from a REST framework we can import serializers. Next, from our model we can import our model name, which is a client. Next, we can create one class, let's say client serializer, which will be using serializers dot model serializer. And for this, like we are going to mention, like this is the class and meta, and we are going to mention what model we are going to use. It's a client. Next we are going to mention what all fields we want to use for the serialization process. For now we can use all. So that's it about the serialization. Now this is our model, and here we can simply add one string interpretation method, like, and here we can say this is cell dot name which will return. Now we have created model and serializer, that's it. Now next thing what we can do, like, now we have existing database and table. Now we don't want to modify or alter the state of the table. So for that, what next we can do, now we need to run our migration commands. So while running the migration command, we need to take care that our Django application should recognize that the database tables and data is already there, and it should modify, it should run the migration without modifying the existing database state. So for that reason we can use this migration command using python.manage.py. And what next we can use, like, we can use make migration as usual, make migrations, but here we are going to use empty, and our application name, it's a API. So this creates a empty migration file which we will modify in our next step. Now this is a migrations, and we can see this is our my initial.python file with some number, and it has created this empty migration dependencies, it's empty. Now here what we can do, here we can add some, like, migrations dot, we can use run SQL, and for this what we can use, we can add some SQL. Here we can add some select query, select one. Now this is for, like, it should not change the to the database, so it is just a placeholder for that. Next thing what we can do, like, we can say reverse SQL, and we can say again we can copy the same. And that's it, we can save it, seems good. So we have just added it so that it should not change to database. Now this tells the Django that the migration has been applied without actually modifying the table. Okay. Now let us apply our migration using command, like here we can use the migrate command, and after that we can use fake, we can use fake initial. What it will do, like, it will because our tables are already existed, now we want to make the migration as applied without making any change. So for that reason we are using this, and with this fake initial, it fake initial flag, it tells the Django that not to recreate the table that already existed. Now seems good. Now let us check the database state whether it has, we have the data or it has created something else. Now seems good, we have the existing data as well. Now what next we can do, like, let us create one view. So view file is already there, so let us do that. Now here we can use our REST framework, like this is our REST framework, and from that we are going to import view sets. Next we are going to import our models, which is client in our case. Next we are going to import from serializers, which is client serializer. And here what next we can do, like, we can create one class, like, let's say client, we can name it like client view set, and here we can use our model view set, and after that we can use query set, and here we can mention our model name, which is a client dot objects we can call, and here we can call all on this, and we can mention what is the serializer class we are going to use, which is client serializer in our case, and we can save it. Seems good. Now we have created view successfully with this. Now let us configure the URLs so that we can test our application. Now here first thing, we can create application specific URLs. So we can use urls.python file, and here we can use our REST framework dot like Django URLs we need to use dot URLs, and we can import path and include. Next thing we are going to use like we are going to use REST framework dot routers, and we are going to use default router. Next, like we are going to import views, and what is the view set, that is client view set we have just created. Now next thing, we need to initialize our router with the default router, and we need to register our view set with this router. So for that reason we can use this, and here we can add some endpoint like lines, and here we can mention our view set. Finally we can create our URL patterns inside this array with path, and here we can mention the API slash as a path, and for that we can include like router.urls. So that's it about application URLs. Now one more thing we need to do for the project specific URL, we need to add our we need to include our application specific URLs inside this. We can add blank path. For that we need to include our api.urls, and here we need to add import for this include. That's it. So we are done with all our coding for this backend application. Now let us run our application using command python manage.py, and this is the command we can run we can use to run our application. Now our server has started, development server has started. Now we can click on this link, and here we can give our path name, which is API slash, and what is it's a clients. Okay, so how we have prepared our path, like here we can use go to application URLs, and here this is the API and this is the clients. Okay, fine. Now it is showing the existing data, that means it is working fine. Now let us add one more entry it here, like let us add Kiran and email ID for Kiran, and tenor we can say 23, and we can say 11 as an ID. Seems good, it is added successfully. Even if we have not given this control, it will work. Okay, so this is about addition. Now let us cross check onto the database side. Seems good. Now without adding the ID, let us check how it goes. Like we can add one more entry like Vijay, and here we can use Vijay, and here we can add 25. Okay, so we need to pass the value as an ID because we have specifically mapped these field. Like if you check it here in our model, so we have mapped this ID, which is a primary key for this one. For that reason we need to use this. Okay, seems good. Now let us check. Now it is creating as expected. Seems good. Now with this we are done with how we can use the existing our existing database without modifying the existing state of database, and how our Python Django application will interact or connect with our existing database, and we can perform some CRUD operations or post method. We can access the existing data and we can add new data to the on top of existing one. Now let us check here, this is our last two entries we have successfully added on top of the existing data. So I hope you must have enjoyed this video. I will request you to please like, subscribe and share. Thank you so much for watching this.